Okay, welcome everybody to our City Council meeting. Today is January 18th, 2024. We're really excited today to be able to welcome some special visitors. We appreciate everyone being here in the audience. We also have PAC 35, Troop 27G and 407 here, represented by Kimber Talbot, her PAC leaders, and Preston Talbot. I'm going to invite Preston to come on up and introduce and say a prayer.
Welcome. We will have our prayer by Anna Lindsay, and then following that, we will have our by PAC 35 and 370.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you that we're all able to come and that we will be able to discuss and meet. Thank you, because we can all listen and that we will have in the name of Jesus Christ.
Amen. Thank you.
Color guard attention. Will the audience please rise? Color guard forward march. Proper hand salute. Color guard post the colors of the United States of America. Color guard salute. Please repeat the Pledge of Allegiance with me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
2. Color guard reassemble. Audience may be seated.
Thank you so much. That was such a treat. I'd like to invite the Scouts back up. Will you guys come back up to the front with your Scout leaders? Let's go take a picture with them. We appreciate you being here. Thank you. Councilmember Oaks was able to answer some questions for you about the city. Did you have any additional questions or thoughts that you wanted? Does anyone have any comments or anything you'd like to share? Will you come to the mic? Thanks.
What's your job when you're not being a mayor?
Oh, good question. My husband and I have a company that we run. Yes.
What is it like to be the mayor?
Oh, it's a lot of fun. I get to meet a lot of wonderful youth. I get to meet a lot of wonderful residents. It's a lot of fun to be able to serve as mayor. Anything else? You guys, go ahead.
What's your favorite part of your job?
Oh, my favorite part of my job is city council meetings. I love being able to meet residents, and I think as a council, we love the opportunity to be able to answer questions and to help people and to do what we can to make Kaysville a great place to live. Thank you so much. We would love to take a picture with you. Will you guys turn around and we'll come down as a council?
Let's come forward a little bit, maybe. Yeah, come a little bit closer, and then we can just kind of follow. Okay, yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks for being here.
Nice day, buddy.
You like zoos? All right, okay. Call to the public. Okay. All right, to start our meeting off, we have the opportunity for public comment. We've had 2 people sign up to speak. One of them is, I can't read. Is it you? Okay, okay. Oh, okay, sorry about that. Come on down. Please state your name. You don't have to state your address. Thanks, Jill.
I keep trying to write better, but anyway, Jill Dredge, hello, and thank you for your concern and consideration for the people of Kaysville. Kaysville has kept itself a smaller and more rural city for years, and it seems to have worked out well for the city. This was confirmed by the glowing media reports regarding Kaysville. Thank you to all of you. I started attending city council meetings after the last legislative session because of concern over many of the bills that contain tremendous government overreach. It was in the Capitol when we were told to take our stickers off that encouraged the representatives to vote yes or no on bills. This has been an acceptable way for the public to take time and come to their capital and share with their representatives the wishes of the people for years. We, and I include myself, were told to take our stickers off or we would be escorted out of the meeting. Many of us said that this was and had always been an acceptable form of communication with legislators. I lost my place. They told us that if we did not take them off, we would be escorted out. And at first we did not take them off. We were then threatened to take them off. This was after we had been sitting in the session through several bills. When it came time to discuss the bill that we were wearing the stickers for, we were ordered to take our stickers off again. So much for representation for the people. Later in the same legislative session 2 years ago, a man was taken out in handcuffs for putting a sticker on his phone. There is so much more to that story that did not reflect well on the legislative body that day. The people around the country and state are not happy with the representation and the overreach of the federal and state government. When you go to the Capitol, you have 1 minute to speak, and the timer begins to warn you at 45 seconds. The first time you see this or experience it, it is pretty startling. It does not feel like anyone really wants to hear what you might have to say. Should the public have a right to speak? I started to attend city council meetings because I felt like I needed to become more educated about how our city functions. I felt this was predominantly because of the bills that were built to force the cities to comply. My first meeting was when the rezoning happened, and I learned a lot. I was concerned at the city council meeting a couple of weeks ago, a discussion regarding public comment. I then attended a planning commission meeting and heard concerns about public comment again. For my own clarification, I asked and found out that the public comments had been redlined from the planning commission meetings and that people would be encouraged to speak at the city council meetings. From my experience in the last year, I had felt like I needed to go to the planning commission so that I could find out about the city things that were going on at an earlier stage. I'm concerned about eliminating or restricting public comments. SB 228 is a bill that deals with Public Infrastructure District Act. These districts were written about with great concern by the Tribune last year as governments unto themselves. They can levy taxes and have control over eminent domain. We're dealing with districts that would have private landowners that could develop an area with 100% tax owners voting for the development. The problem with this is that there's only one landowner and he's the developer, there's no one to stop him. Apparently this is happening in Harriman Vineyard. Also, how many developments are being bought by one developer, sold to another, and then rezoning happens. PPPs are being discovered by the legislators for what they are, business and government coming together. I would encourage some representation for the people who live and pay taxes in every city. And you're right about that here. There are legislators that are beginning to see the problems growing in Newton, and it is rewarding to see that people for 2 years, not me, have without paid and trying to learn and share information. Thank you for considering the citizens of Kaysville.
Thank you, Jill. All right, next we have Lorraine Starkey.
I am Laureen Starkey, and I live in Kaysville. And I live among neighbors who have appreciated being heard. We asked to keep the community gardens a single-family dwelling, and someone listened. I read with my college daughter a 900-page Democracy in America by Alexis de Tocqueville, and I learned with her that our country is desirable and coveted because of the voice of the people, the town hall, the small group involvement, participation. My neighbors value this. I value this. A week ago Thursday, I attended a planning commission where I watched the call to action in future bylaws redlined. And looking through the packet for today, again, I was concerned about proposed amendments to city ordinances in Title 19, fencing, noise abatement, where city council, city engineer, planning commission were replaced by city. Who is the city? I understand delegation. Like an engineer in the planning commission, somebody likes to have their responsibilities lightened. I appreciate that. But my friends reviewing these changes have asked, who is the city? Who represents the citizens? Will the representation be as complete when the officials are not elected? My husband and I spend substantial effort trying to encourage our neighbors to attend meetings, to express their views. Neighbors are heads of families. They have burgeoning schedules, and they want to spend their efforts in something that makes a difference. I'm learning that citizens participate when they feel heard, when they feel included, not on the spot. A spot on the program cut off after 3 minutes or checked off because this was the call to the public, but nobody came. They like to participate when they feel heard. I invite our council to exercise caution, extreme caution, in limiting and eliminating public expression, accountability to the citizens by allowing responsibility to land squarely on the shoulders of elected representatives. We have Chinese friends who attest that zero public input proceeds smoothly, like a well-oiled machine. Public input often offers complication, difficulty. Is it not, however, what makes us who we are? What do you think would happen if we blackline the red lines to preserve, encourage, and maintain this fought-for privilege of public comment? Thank you.
Thank you both. Appreciate your comments.
Thank you so much.
Okay, now I have the opportunity to present, well, we're going to hear from Kaysville Gives. Mindy, come on down as I stumble through this. Come on down up to the mic. We have a presentation of Kaysville Gives. For most of us in the city, we've been talking about this. This is an annual event, and we're excited to hear the report on it. So Krista Crane and Mindy Edstrom. Turn the time over to both of you.
This is a shocking experience, right? First of all, we're a little nervous to be here. It's different to be on this side of things than perhaps behind the scenes. I'm Mindy Edstrom, otherwise known as your coworker here at the city, and this is my co-crazy lady, Krista Crane, and she is second. Well, she's my right-hand man. This is how we get through Kaysville Gives.
She's outstanding. So Mindy represents the city for Kaysville Gives, for those who are maybe listening or watching, and Krista is our community volunteer, and we could not do it without both of you and the other volunteers as well. So.
And hopefully, in our little presentation, we can show that with share that with you. So as you can see, Kaysville Gives, we've got 2017 to 2023. We just completed our 7th year of doing Kaysville Gives, and for those of you that don't know the total history of it, it started with helping 10 families, and we had a Christmas tree in the old city hall, and people would come pick up tags, and we had no idea who was taking tags. We didn't know if they knew when to return them. It was kind of a cluster. But it was me and 2 other volunteers putting together Kaysville Gives. We managed to do it. All the gifts were stored out of her home, and we realized at that point we were working with the food bank and Safe Harbor, and I think we had started with family enrichment at the time. But we realized that there was a great opportunity for Kaysville residents, businesses, employees, families, all of us here in Kaysville City to get involved. And so we had reached out to Safe Harbor. Oh, I've got to turn it on, right? The power's off. On, there we go. So what is Kaysville Gives? It was created as a way to be involved in our community, where we have lots of people that are civic-minded and wanting to help and be helpful. No one wants to be in charge, and so it gave, I don't mind helping out. I love being involved in the community, and so with Cole Stevens, we decided, who's the Park and Rec director, we saw it as an opportunity for the city to get involved, and that's when Kaysville Gives started. We've been able to help Mountain High, Safe Harbor, all of our local elementary schools, which is one of my favorite things that we get to do. Family enrichment, and every year we get more and more families from them. Mercy Housing, and when I put Kaysville Police Department and Victim Advocate, we work with the counselor over there who has needs for the victims once they have, it's been things from burner phones to clothing items. So when these families are coming in, we've been able to give them gift cards to go get dinner, things like that. And then, as you guys saw over Facebook, over November, there was a family in Kaysville that had been misplaced, and that family that was allowing the family to be housed at their home reached out and asked for us to be able to see if there was something we could do. We typically don't take in families like that. We do all of these different organizations because they do all the vetting for us. We just like to be the helping hands. Hold on. So, well, my part is helping with the city. Krista is running it on the other side down at Young Truck and Trailer, and she's going to share a couple of the daunting facts that go into pulling off Kaysville Gives.
Yes, the numbers for this year.
Yeah.
So we helped 147 families this year. We had about 160 boxes that were full to the brim. We were able to raise about 50 items for Mercy Housing. We had 1,900 tags, and that's on our virtual Christmas tree online. Some of those items were placed on Amazon too, where people could go there and shop for them. But total, we had about 1,900 items. Some of those tags represent 2 or 3 different items. So we think—
Which is more, because we did 1,500 tags last year.
Yeah.
So we thought we'd met our max last year, and we found that there's still quite a need in our community, so we—
Yes, the need was bigger this year for sure. So we had 1,900 tags. We think that it was about 3,000 items that we were able to get this year. Personally, we shopped, me and my volunteers, we shopped for about 1,200 items. 1,200 tags, which ended up being about 1,800 items. We mostly got things from Amazon, but we hit Walmart and Target and Smith's and a bunch of different other stores to get everything that we needed.
We knew where everything was located in the stores because they were in the stores.
Yes, yes. And our financial donations were about $37,000 this year. So total, we think it's about $80,000 worth of financial donations and items donated, which is a lot.
And that's not including volunteer hours, which we probably should be a little bit better keeping track of that. But we've got amazing volunteers that happily come and support each year, and for some reason, crazy people keep coming back. So,
I think that's it.
Okay. So I wanted to show or share with you, this is Jennifer Christensen from Mountain High School. She's the school counselor. Hopefully, do you think if I just hit the button and we'll try? No? All right. So I asked Jennifer to come this evening and just share a little bit. She was not able to.
Mountain High School, and I just want to thank Kaysville Gives for the amazing support we have received from this organization for the past several Christmases. Kaysville Gives has provided Supper Santa for Mountain High School and has served not only specific students but also entire families in some cases, depending on the need. This year, Kaysville Gives allowed us to provide Christmas for more than 40 families, and we are so thankful. Kaysville Gives is amazing because it's organized so well, and I have personally enjoyed so much being able to work with Krista Crane and with Mindy Ekstrom, who are Mountain High's liaisons with the program. And I know that there's so much work that goes into making Kaysville Gives possible, and there's been so much more need. Things are tough for a lot of people, and I know that without the support of Kaysville Gives, the families that Mountain High served would not have had Christmas. Kaysville Gives went above and beyond, and I just can't express my gratitude enough. Thank you so much to everyone who participates in the program, everyone who organizes it, everyone who contributes. I think it's a miracle.
as you can see, there's benefits to Kaysville Gives just simply here with Mountain High School with the 40 families that we were able to help. With the total of over 140 families that were able to be helped over Christmas. Imagine what good Kaysville Gives is doing throughout our community.
And I do have to say with Mountain High, these are kids that are sometimes overlooked. These are kids that have really tough circumstances, and I've talked to Jen a lot about this, and it's eye-opening to see that there's kids and families in Kaysville that have real needs, that need a lot of help. And we were grateful that we were able to help them and get everything that they needed.
Yeah, and we were able to this year. We were we were wondering if we were going to be able to fulfill all the needs, and we were able to pull through and do that. Who makes Kaysville Gives possible? And I've brought a couple of my Kaysville friends with me, or Kaysville Gives friends to help. As you can see here, these are our residents that make it possible. At our Fill the Fire Truck event in the top left-hand corner, we had a Kaysville, a local group of children come and sing, which brought all of their family members. Of course, if there's a child singing, grandma and grandpa and the whole caboodles there. And it was so great to have that support. They all came bringing donations as well. As you can see, Santa Claus and the Grinch, they are both local Kaysville residents who have approached us and wanting to help and donate their time. The Nessens, they're beautiful Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus, and what they said was this was not even their nice outfits. They brought their low-grade ones because it was snowing that day. So the hours, Jeff Bozen, he's a Kaysville resident. I'm sure many of you are aware he is our Grinch, and don't blow his cover, but he helped raise funds
For 2 families, he personally took care of 2 families.
And then as you can see, we've got families that have brought in gifts. The top right-hand corner, that's families that brought in donations, and then those that brought donations to the Fill the Fire Truck event. Many of you guys have been able to be a part of that, and it's so fun to have you there. I always look forward to John's outfits. What will John wear? Councilmember Adams. What is he going to wear to the big event? Our Kaysville City employees are amazing. We couldn't do it without our Parks and Recreation Department. They helped with logistics and getting tables and helping us get set up down at Young Truck and Trailer, and then with the distribution of all the gifts. Admin, I would throw everyone together here in the building, helping with phone calls, taking in donations, helping with anything basically here on our side. Community development, I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to get to do this as part of our department, which I'm grateful for. Public Works, they're the muscle behind the machine.
Moving the boxes.
Our power department and then the fire department, they're right there in the middle of everything, trying to help us with Fill the Fire Truck. We couldn't do it without you guys, City Council and Youth City Council, and of course, the mayor, who is front and center. The mayor, I know, I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's lovely.
I've absolutely loved being able to get to know the mayor. I knew her before she was the mayor, and her generosity and her willingness to be a part of this speaks volumes of the mayor that's leading our city. Not only is she a dear friend, but she's a great example to me.
Thank you. Is personally involved, which you don't see all the time.
Hours and hours. And she doesn't take herself too seriously. She fell into a box. She was packing some tape over the top of the box, and she fell in, and bless her little heart, she just giggled.
I just look like a dork.
It speaks volumes of the person that we have running leading our city. So I'm grateful. And then to all of you with the financial donations and the time and the effort. Cute Abby and her girls sat outside with their hot cocoa and raised money. I think, what did you guys raise? 300?
Yeah, over 400 eventually.
Thanks to the fire department.
Yeah, the fire department came and helped a lot. So we had some donations.
But what a great opportunity for those cute kids to be a part of Kaysville Gives. As you can see, here's our Youth City Council. They went to all of our businesses this year and handed out signs. We didn't ask for donations. We know that everyone gets plenty of opportunities to help with donations, but we just asked if they would put a sign up just representing Kaysville Gives. And they were just like right on the ball and went and helped do it. Our Kaysville businesses, if I could have Tammy and Rob come on up. Several years ago, Randy Taylor, he is the manager of their store here in Kaysville. He had some extra supplies and just showed up on a Saturday morning to drop them off. And in that moment, he realized that Kaysville Gives was something more than it was bigger than what he thought. And so he reached out the following year to get involved. And so then I've been able to meet my good friends here. So this is Tammy Olson and this is Rob. And I'm going to let them just share a little bit about what Kaysville Gives for us. We couldn't continue growing or being involved like we are. Thanks to the facility, as you can see, they've provided this beautiful facility for us to expand and be able to help more families. There's a picture of Rob in the middle. He came to the fire truck event and was repping a banner for us. And then as you can see, all of their employees, they have been awesome to come. Like the doors open and the volunteers walk in and they're like, here, let's take the gifts and let us help organize. And they've been very, very vital in the success of Kaysville Gives. But I would love for you guys just to share a little bit about what Kaysville Gives is for you guys.
So I'll let you lead because without you it wouldn't happen.
At Young Truck and Trailer, we do like to help out in the community and give back. And I think getting all the employees involved really it hits home for them. They see the families that they're helping out. And I don't know, most guys, you wouldn't think these guys would volunteer or want to be involved in this, but they really do. After getting involved, they see all the good work that's being done, and it pulls on some heartstrings for them. So it's nice to see the hard guys who normally don't care about stuff like, or you wouldn't think, but get involved with stuff like this, and getting the whole Young Caring for Young in there, or getting involved, has been major for us and Tammy, getting everything organized, and really just, I wish I prepared something.
Thanks, Rob.
So Rob is an advocate for our foundation, Young Caring for Our Young, and he brought it to us and said, we're really passionate about this. This is our event for our dealership because most of our dealerships choose an event that they're passionate about. And they took this on, and I have to tell you, we do probably 50 events a year through our foundation. So we deal with many municipalities, many education foundations, and this experience is among our favorite. Literally couldn't ask for better cooperation from your team, from your leadership. They work hard and they're committed, and from your citizens as a whole. It's a beautiful community with a big need that is kind of a surprise to most people because they perceive Kaysville as this affluent community with very little poverty and challenges. But we're grateful for the opportunity, and again, just want to thank you for the privilege of serving you as Kaysville City, but letting us be a part of something that we think this is just the beginning of how big it can get. So thank you all, and Mindy and your team, amazing. So thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you so much.
Yeah, they help with financial donations, they help with the logistics, they help with the location. So
I mean, they literally clear out their showroom for us to come in. That's
and then they show up with trucks and trailers to help us distribute. And I've got a small clip here to show you. So we can't do this second without our families. As you can see, we're supported very well by those that love us, but those that want to help us do what we are doing. And we've got the Crane family, I think they were there every day. The Tran family, there's Lee, you can see your daughter's there. All of our volunteers, I think all of them showed up at some point. Neighbors, but as you can see, it does, not only as residents, but as our family members, they're involved. And I'll just have my young gals come on up here, and Chris, these are our volunteers that help us. And as you can see, this is the crew that makes this happen. So Krista's on the left, me, we've got the mayor, Shanna Barker, Karen Dent, Emily Murphy, and then Shannon Frazier. All of these women have been helping, gosh, you've been helping for 4 or 5 years. You guys are, yeah. I'm pretty picky about who, you don't just let anyone come in and do this. There's a lot of details and logistics that go into this. So they were highly screened. But from a volunteer point of view, I would just love just to share a quick thing about what Kaysville Gives means to you guys.
I'm Emily Murphy. I was born and raised in Kaysville, and ever since we got our first stoplight here. So I have always loved Kaysville. It's always felt like a small town. And since being here and raising my family, I have felt how much bigger it has gotten. I still consider it my small town. But working in this organization, I've seen how big and how wonderful it is to be a little bigger than it used to be when I was growing up, because there's so much giving that can happen. Krista read those numbers about how much money was donated and given by everybody. It's miraculous. And so that's one of the wonderful things that I love about Kaysville, and being a part of this has just made me love Kaysville even more, and I love sharing it with everybody. It takes a lot of work, and everybody that's a part of it, including all those businesses and the employees. I love that this is something that brings everyone together. I can't think of a group that is not involved. So it's the perfect place to be.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Shanna Barker. Just echoing that, it is really a great opportunity to see the community come together. It's been really fun the last couple years since we've been going to Young Truck and Trailer and getting to know them, and just seeing that side, having them just open their arms to us, and we go in there every day. They're so kind, and just whatever we need, they're really great. But then just to have everybody walk in the door with donations, and it's just being able to see people serve and you fall in love. But the other side of it that I just wanted to mention was that this year I was really reminded that it's about the one, each child, and part of what I get to do is contact some of the schools. So not only the elementary schools, but we also cover the junior highs and Davis High School. And so we contact the counselors or the family advocates for each of those schools, and that's who we work with directly. So it's all, real anonymous, but you have a male 16-year-old, shoe size and a shirt size, and it's amazing how that translates into that boy and that teenager, and you want them to have what everyone else has, and you want to fulfill those needs and wants. They only have a couple needs and a couple wants on their list. But it's just a reminder every year about the one, and how whatever that unique item is, it still comes in the door, and somehow we are able to fulfill that. And even when it's some of the needs and wants are just simply pots and pans and grocery gift cards, that really, really does touch your heart, and you recognize how important it is and how it's really helping them with what they truly need. So anyway, it's a truly great opportunity, and you can tell these women are amazing, so that's the other fun part, is getting to spend time with them. So thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you.
So I'll just wrap this up really quick. If you look at it, it takes our city, it takes volunteers, it takes our business, it takes our residents, it takes staff, it takes each of you guys. This is, like she said, this is one thing that touches every part of Kaysville City, and it couldn't happen without everyone being a part of it. So Melinda, if you don't mind hitting play, we'll just show you quickly. This is our last day going and delivering.
Wow, thank you so much, you guys. Definitely. I'm sure we all have something that we'd like to share, but I will just mention we are so grateful for for everyone that participates. Trevor, Mindy's husband, wrote the software that handles all of these orders and handles all of these requests and keeps track of everything. Gardner is there every day. He shops for all the bikes and the helmets and the scooters and everything, and your kids are there. I mean, we couldn't do it without our volunteers, and we couldn't do what they do without their families, and so we are so grateful. And I also wanted to just mention that $80,000 approximately is raised within, is it 3 weeks? It's about a 3-week period of time. I mean, that is outstanding if you think about how quickly that all moves and how much is going on. And it's kind of an uncertain kind of time because we're never really sure, if all the money will come in and people will take the gift tags, but it works out because it's such a wonderful community effort. So thank you so much. You guys are outstanding. I don't want to hog the mic. Go ahead if you guys have any comments.
Well, I'll just say it's so inspiring to see all the work and all the people that come together. And this is what Christmas is all about. And it makes me proud to serve in my ability to actually see this up close and for all the work that you do. So my hat goes off to you, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you for presenting. Young Truck and Trailer, Tammy and Rob, thanks so much. Your facility, in years past, we did it here at City Hall, and it was kind of hard because we just didn't have as much space, and it was a constant packages coming and deliveries and stuff, but having it at your facility is so nice. So we appreciate you donating the facility and people to be there with us. So thank you for that. All right, well, you guys, thank you for such an outstanding, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I just wanted to say thanks also. The time that I stopped by where the gifts were, the employees were assembling the bikes, and I thought it was just about the cutest thing to see them and thinking that a kid on Christmas morning was going to have a bike, and not just pieces of a bike, but an assembled, well put together bike. And I just want to say thanks so much for your time and your attention to detail on that.
You guys are awesome. That video was not nice. I don't like it when I cry. Next year, I'm proposing, and I'm committing to it right now, that I'll do a little auction a couple weeks before, and whoever bids the most can choose whatever outfit I'm going to wear on Kaysville Day. So we'll see how curious people are going to get, and I may be one of the high bidders. So if inappropriate, because I can see Josh thinking, man.
Exactly.
What are the options?
That's what I'm saying. It's all open.
Ooh, that could get good.
That's dangerous.
Mayor, I'd just like to say, this is what makes me so blessed to live in Davis County. I just think that this is a wonderful place in Kaysville City, and when you see people do this, you don't have words for this. It's just amazing, and we are blessed to be where we're at, and I can't think of a better place to raise my family.
If I may, it really comes down to, in my mind, and John, I agree, it's that last video when you see the volunteers and it tugs at your heart, and you really, this is Christ-like love. This is what it's all about, is helping, and not just at Christmas, but throughout the year. And I think we live in a city that people are willing to give the shirt off their back at almost any time to be able to help others, and it's why we're here. So thank you, really.
Thank you so much. All right, guys, we'll move on to our agenda. Go back to our agenda. Conflicts of interest, does anyone have anything to declare? No? Okay. Would someone like to make a motion on the consent items?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the December 7th, 2023 meeting.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any comments? Okay, Councilmember Adams.
Aye.
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 All right, motion carries. Thank you. Let's move to our number 6 action item A, text amendments to ordinance within Title 17, 18, and 19 of the Kaysville City Code. Turn the time over to Josh. Mr. Belknap.
No, Josh, please. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Sorry, get to the right page here. As you can see in the staff reports, we're back from the previous meeting, and Councilmember Adams has a rule where he doesn't want to see me at more than 3 consecutive public meetings in a row, and I'm getting close, so, yeah. No, my apologies. We got a lot of really great feedback from the council in the last meeting about the changes that have been made by the state, and those changes, as we talked about previously, are changes that have taken away or limited the city's abilities, and not just Kaysville, but throughout the state, their ability to receive public comment the way that they had been previously about the review process for developments coming into our communities. The public comment portion, I think, was the particular specific concern that staff and elected officials had, is with the limitations given to us by the state, how do we still provide a vehicle for people to be involved and to provide input. Talking internally, as well as talking with some of the elected officials since then, what we have in the staff report is what I feel like is, considering those limitations, a great option to keep people involved, keep people aware, and provide opportunities as the staff, as we, the city, the Administrative Land Use Authority, can take that input, take those comments, and anywhere that it's applicable and that we have the ability according to code, incorporate those things, as well as share them with the developers if it's not something that we're able to necessarily tie to a code or an ordinance to require. We sure hope that we have good development partners that we can still share that input and feedback with. Essentially, what that revolves around is the proposal to post a notice, a physical notice, out at the development site, notifying people that a proposed development, a preliminary plat has been submitted, and that opens a public comment opportunity that they can link to from that notice to go to the city website, officially submit those comments, the input, feedback, concerns, etc., with an encouragement to, wherever they can, link those comments to items in our code and our standards, just so that we have better ability to make use of those to make good, positive changes. So that's what we have before you. We want to continue to talk with you here in this meeting about this item, because it really is incredibly important to the community. And as a staff member and a resident, I see that on both sides. So with that, I'll turn it over to council for any questions.
Council, do we have any questions or thoughts?
I have thoughts.
Oh, you have,
questions.
okay, you can have thoughts as well.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Well, just, I think that, our two public comments, sorry, I don't know if it was loud. Our two public comments, I think, I agree with everything that both of the public comments addressed, which is the idea of shutting down the voice of the people is not the way we want to run. And I feel like sometimes that impression, in fact, one of the youth city council asked the governor, do you remember he asked, it was a really great question. So he asked him, are you more of a delegate leader or, what's the other one now? I can't remember.
Representative?
Yeah, representative leader. And he actually shared, which was interesting, he shared that he's actually more of a delegate leader. He feels like the people who have elected him have asked him to do his job the best he can. And it kind of helped me do a little bit of self-assessment. And I think I lean a little bit more to the representative. I try and hear what the people have to say a little bit more. But I think he made a great point. In this circumstance, the hardest part about it for me, and I'll just say this to you guys, Jill and Lauren, for commenting, is that all of these things aren't able to be changed based off of comment. So it's almost as if the Planning Commission is hearing everything you're having to say, but then they can't
change it. And it puts them in a really awkward position because they're constantly turning people down or not changing it. And that almost makes them look like they are deaf to the public. And I think what this will hopefully do, if we do it the way we're intending, is it actually allows the public to come, if they choose, to be able to come and meet with a city representative that we choose, right? That can then say, here's why that's the way it is, and here's the point in code where it is, and Melinda can explain this is why that's the way it is, versus the planning commission just listening to them and saying, sorry, we can't do anything about it. So I hope that this makes it seem like we're not taking the public out of it, but rather we're actually giving the public a chance to be heard. I don't know. That's my thoughts on it, and I think we've done that.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Blackham.
I'd like to echo what John says over there, because I think really what this does is there are people a lot of times who tend to have really good ideas and reasoning, but don't like getting up in a public meeting and expressing themselves. And they do have a lot of really good ideas, or they have comments that are pertinent to it. And this absolutely gives them that vehicle to do that. Probably more so, I think, now this way than it did before. And as I was talking to Josh, he felt like that we would also share these comments with the council and planning commission. They come in and then we can see, is our ordinance broke down somewhere? Is there something we need to fix based off these comments? Maybe we need to look at something. But what it does is it does help the process. It does help move it along. And it does, I feel like, give people more of a personal ability to talk with staff and the developer. That's what I like. It puts the developer out there too, or whoever's doing it, and it gives them the opportunity to speak one-on-one with them also. So I think if you really look at it as a whole, this is actually a better route than I think the old way was. And it gives people more opportunity to have their voice heard.
Thank you. Councilmember Oaks.
And what I appreciate is that when we discussed this 2 weeks ago, we all had concerns. This was a work item a number of months ago, and it came to an action, and we all had those same concerns that were expressed by Lorraine and Jill, and because they were our thoughts. The last thing we ever want to do is shut down comment, shut down the ability to be heard. I think there's some of this, we'll see how this works. And by putting whatever comments come in for initial plat, and they're in the planning commission, they come to our package, we're able to see, and we'll see how it gets resolved. And if we need to adjust, we can adjust. And I appreciate it, but I do appreciate the work that went in, because you heard us 2 weeks ago, you took back, and it was fairly simple, but you put down what we talked about, and so thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. Dexter and Melinda and Nick have put a ton of time into this, and I think it reflects, as we've kind of watched it meander through the course of internal and public kind of deliberation. It's neat to see how it's arrived at this point, and so yeah, very, very grateful for those individuals and their support as well as yours. So.
All right. Councilmember Jackson.
Yeah, just to echo what my colleagues have said, limiting public discourse, that goes against everything we believe in here in Kaysville. And it goes against our culture. And so, working through this process, I appreciate the staff listening to the council, the last council meeting. And, we're trying to work within the parameters and the limitations that the state has put on us as a council. But all of us agree up here that it's very important that we carve out a way and a method that we can hear from residents if there are concerns. And I'm very optimistic about this, and think that this may be a more streamlined solution, actually, and work to our benefit. So.
Thank you. I was just going to quickly mention, I've had the opportunity to serve in Kaysville City as a planning commissioner twice, like 25 years ago, and then, in the last 10 years. And what this does, I think, also is it kind of fixes what wasn't working so well because people were coming to planning commission. And like it was mentioned, we smile and we nod but we don't have, as planning commissioners, have a lot of ability to make decisions, especially right there in the fly, we just don't have the ability. Planning commission's purpose is to make recommendations. And so I think that was frustrating to people. I know as people would come and speak, they were really frustrated because they thought planning commission could actually change something at that point, and they can't. So I do agree with everything that's been said, and I appreciate the work that you and Melinda have done on this, trying to respond to what we want to be as a representative government. We want to be able to let people have opportunities, but it really gives people that opportunity to have that one-on-one discussion. And then it gives us the insight to that discussion. So I appreciate it. Councilmember Hunt, go ahead.
I guess I just have a couple quick questions. Then they're kind of more for us to better explain to the public. Someone asked in their public comment in there when it says city, who is that referring to? Is that just any city staff that would be applicable for that specific area? Like, could it be engineer, department heads?
Yeah, exactly. So the city will serve as the administrative land use authority.
Right.
And certainly the city engineer, but like you said, department heads, that's going to impact the power department. That'll impact the public works department. That'll impact potentially the parks department, as well as community development, the legal department, et cetera, whoever the applicable parties are, being able to review and gather that input, as well as using that same body to review that public comment and look for opportunities of, this comment may not have addressed a specific city code, but I'm aware of code, whatever, that would apply to. So that further helps to strengthen that public input.
Okay, perfect. If it's okay, I'll. So then kind of we went over it quickly, but just so that I guess everyone understands, the process is, so a developer or whoever comes in and wants to subdivide, right, a property. When does the sign go up? Like?
It would be as soon as possible.
Okay.
So, if somebody comes in on Tuesday to submit their application for a preliminary plat, if we have the ability to do so, to get that out the next day.
Okay.
I think time is of the essence. The sooner we can get that out, the better, just so that more people are seeing it for a longer period of time.
And then how long does it stay out?
I think we'd take that until the initial review for that preliminary plat is 15 days.
Right.
And if there's something that comes in after the fact, we don't have anything in here currently restricting, it's after the 15 days, we can't take that. If something came in that was incredibly helpful and insightful, that we might be able to use in our last opportunity to provide a requirement type feedback to a developer, then I think that's a good thing.
Okay.
So there's nothing specifically spelled out saying from this time to this time is all you get.
Okay, and then, so those comments then come, and they'll come to the city council, and they'll come to the planning commission. Obviously, they'll go to the relevant staff members and to the developer. And then does anything happen after that? Because I remember last time we had talked about having like a city meeting for those kinds of things. Did we decide against that?
Yeah, so as we talked, we felt like, I think Councilmember Blackham brings up a good point. The likelihood of maximizing the input is probably through being able to, whether it's online or even a written statement of concern or comment, sending that in, I think you end up getting more. We had talked about, are there needs for some sort of a quorum? Are there needs for some sort of minute taking? How can we maximize the 15 days that we have to focus on taking the comments, reviewing the comments, and finding where applicable to apply the comments? And I think that's kind of the middle ground where we found. If we focus on this, still get the comments, and not have a public meeting, we feel like we can still get the same input opportunity for the community.
Okay, cool. cool. And I think you guys have probably come to the best solution. I just wanted to make sure that I and, everyone else was understanding kind of how that went, just that because it might have gotten confused.
And in terms of reporting back with council and planning commission, I think it would be helpful. And we don't have anything written in currently in the draft that I provided of what that vehicle is, but I think it would be good to summarize those, as we're sharing with a developer, being able to share with our elected and appointed officials as well, and whether that's just through electronic communication, Dropbox, whatever the case is. And so that'd be a good input to get from council.
Okay, and then if I can just just give kind of my 2 cents worth. I'm kind of like Mayor Tran. I was on the planning commission, and I feel obviously very strongly about having public input. And it's kind of a weird place to be, because this is something where, unless it's going against code or state ordinance or state, codes, even public input, they could have all the best ideas in the world. And it's so frustrating when people come in and say, this clearly is common sense, why can't we do it? And it's just, we just can't because of the way it is. To me, the only real hang up for me, and I do appreciate and want to say thank you so much for all the work that's gone into this. I know it's probably been hours for you guys, and I appreciate all of your work, especially incorporating council's thoughts, is just, and I wouldn't ever think it would be malicious or anything in any way, but I can see, comments coming in, going into a packet, and no one ever looking at them. And I'm not saying you guys would do that ever. I have great faith in our staff, and I know you guys do a great job, especially fielding, resident concerns, because I send them your way, and you're always very responsive. But that's the biggest concern for me, is I appreciate that we're getting public input. I appreciate that we're putting the sign out, but for me, the hang up is that the public isn't seeing all of the work that you guys are doing. And I think that's hard for staff to not have their work, I guess, be recognized.
Yeah. And may I follow on? So is there a forcing function that requires us, staff to get back to the comment, answer the comment, so it doesn't go into a black hole? Is there a,
I think that would be really valuable feedback to get from council. There's different ways that different entities do that. UDOT has a process that they follow. We're going to generically summarize the comments. These 3 comments are kind of saying the same thing. So here's the comment, and here's our generic response to that comment, and then they publish that in the.
Because it seems like it could be pretty almost worthless if they just went into a black hole and we wanted to ignore them. I mean, so I say a forcing function that we do provide answers. I'm not sure how that normally.
But I know that's a lot of work for.
Can I make a?
Well, and I don't know. I'm asking more of a question.
Can I make a comment on that?
Yes.
Just because the experience I've had over the past 4 years is being the liaison for Public Works. I know that I believe pretty much every time an issue has come up, I have been copied on that email. I may not comment, I may not anything, but Josh usually always, or whoever the entity is for the city, has been very amenable to at least acknowledging that they received that and then commented back. Now, sometimes you just get in a word war and you give up, but the initial comments, and that's why I felt like if they sent those comments out to the council and the planning commission, we don't need to answer or anything, but at least we know what's going on. But I know that my past experience with this is the department heads or whoever was involved in the city kept us in the loop, and I don't know that they ever have not really acknowledged something. And so it's kind of a self-policing thing, because if we hear 2 or 3 times that somebody says, I did this and I never got heard, we're going to hear about it, and then we're going to go to him, and he's going to go to him. And so it's kind of...
I really appreciate you bringing that up, because I was going to also vouch for the process. I get copied on probably almost all the emails, especially if they are from the residents, with a complaint or a question. And Josh, you are fantastic at getting back. Cole, everybody is. Jason gets back immediately with people. And so, and like Councilmember Black or Oaks mentioned, if we find for any reason that this process does not work, we can change it. So I think what we had within the boundaries of the state law that we have to abide within that 15-day period, I think that this is a good opportunity to see if this works and see how well this works. And if for some reason we find, like Mike said, we're hearing from residents, hey, no one ever got back to me, and that's a repetitive kind of thing, well, we're going to get back to you for sure, because we all really care. But I really do believe staff will. If it becomes a problem, we can address it, so. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate you articulating the process, Councilmember Hunt, because that's really good to be able to let people know what can happen. So thank you for that.
Well, and if I can, I hopefully it didn't come off at all like I ever thought, because I know you guys are so responsive, and I get copied on so many emails as well, where people are like, well, I was concerned about this, or I've had people call me up, when do you remember when they were concerned about Mutton Hollow, and this lady called me and was super mad, and I was like, let me get you to Josh, and you just took care of it, and obviously you know way more than I do, so of course I appreciate all of the responsiveness, and I know you guys always do a great job. I guess for me, I just wanted to bring it up so that we could talk about it for the public who are concerned.
Good discussion.
Well, we appreciate, and Melinda as well. I mean, every department gets back to people, and so we appreciate it. All right, well, are we ready for a vote? Okay, all right, I would love to entertain a motion.
But
Oh, wait. Yes.
if I
yes.
could just
Go
ask a
ahead.
clarifying question, would council like to provide any specific directions on those comments? Is that summarizing those and just providing them to whoever those officials are, just for their information, including in agendas or?
Councilmember Adams.
I think it's in here, but now I'm trying to remind myself if I thought it or if it was in there. But the idea that whatever the comments have to be, if they're related to, like you said, a certain body, that those comments maybe be addressed to the commentor by that body, whether it's just something quick. But I think that that'll address both Councilwoman Hunt. Is it Councilwoman? Do we say that Councilwoman or Council? Anyway, Hunt's issue of whether they've been in a black hole, and then that will also, help the commentor to know somebody looked at this. That would be my recommendation, and then as Councilmember Blackham said, that those just be included in the packet. Would you be okay with that? I can't imagine that's going to bog people down too much because maybe there's 4 or 5 comments, and maybe they just, because if they bring that if they make a comment, they would provide their email address as well or something, that they just receive, maybe even if it's just the summary of that thing, of all the comments, that they receive some type of a.
Well, and really, this is included in staff report for us.
Yeah, and so I'm
from
saying
Planning
that from the
Commission
staff
moving
report, I'm
forward.
just talking more about the commentor receiving something back.
A reply?
And the reply doesn't have to even be specific to them, I don't think, but maybe whatever is written having to do with after the comments, does that make sense?
Like you said, if we're dealing with 4 or 5, that's probably fairly easy to address, case by case specific. If you were dealing with a large volume, you probably can take the UDOT approach of
draft.
This is kind of the generic comment, and this is the response to it, and maybe even send out the response in mass to those specific individuals in addition to the public bodies. So.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. You've got your. Does that give you clarity, Josh?
Yeah, for sure. Sorry to interrupt the
No,
the
that's
motion.
great. All right, moving back. Motion?
I would make a motion, but I don't know exactly how to word the
what you're
motion
making
because
now.
there's 3 comments. But the thing that you're talking about, John, was more a policy thing, not an ordinance portion, more a policy, right? You're not.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
really have
it's
that.
nothing that's written in here that would be, but it's more a policy procedure, and I think that's a direction. A lot of times when the state makes laws, then they have rules that follow those laws, and I think the policy is that we get notified when they get notified. And, you know, I mean, we're talking about here things that are permitted uses. These are things that are basically administrative anyway. None of this has anything to do with anything that's legislative. So, but you've got three different things you call out here on the, there's a red line copy with which, and so I'm not sure on your staff report
What you're really approving?
which is A, B, or C. I know the one I've got in here, I can tell you what page it's on. It's one that's got all the blue writing on it that actually defines that, but that's the only one that it does. And so it would be Title 17. Isn't there talks about the different texts?
Yeah, so the development review and the public comment is in Title 18.
18 and 19.
Specifically.
Yeah.
And that obviously impacts portions of 17, 18, and 19, but the meat of the public comment
Right.
draft changes were
And
in
you had it
Title 18.
three different ways. You had it clean copy, red line copy, and there was a third. I want to make sure we get the right one.
Yeah, sorry. So that clean copy is incorporating the changes and deleting what the previous text would have said in,
Right.
in the
Which has
red
got the
line
red
copy.
lines and the blue lines.
Yeah, so the
Okay.
clean copy would be
The one we're approving.
what we'd be approving.
Okay, I just want to make sure I don't get the wrong one, because each one of them had an ordinance with
Great
it.
question.
So I would make a motion that we accept the text amendments to ordinance within tables 17, 18, and 19 that include the red line and blue lines, that it made it a clean copy for what we have talked about here today.
Thank
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion?
Yeah, just some discussion
Councilmember
here.
Jackson.
So I talked to Melinda earlier, and I've had a few residents ask about the mobile home or manufactured home language in Title 17. And the city hasn't, as far as I understand, has not received any applications for such a development, but that this is cleaning up the language that was already in our ordinances. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah. Is that,
Yeah. And so just if there's anyone concerned that's listening, this has to do with just cleaning up the language that's already there. So, yeah.
Thank you, Councilmember Jackson. Anyone else?
Can I just say something?
Yes,
quick?
Councilmember Hunt.
I guess, you know, kind of like I was saying, I don't love having to do this. You know, I love planning commission. I love the slow process because that's where I've been. But my not loving it has nothing to do with where it's at. And just, I see the expediency of needing to streamline things and meet state requirements and there was something else I was going to say. And just also to realize that, you know, just because the public forum is a little different, it looks a little different, that it can still be the public forum and we can still gather things. So I'm hopeful that this will continue to function in the way that we want and that the public would like. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, Councilmember Hunt.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Thank you so much for your work on that.
thank you.
All right, we'll
Thank
move
you
to
for
our.
the public comments, too.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, we're moving on to work item 7A, amendments to Title 6 and 8 of the Kaysville City Code. Turning the time back over to you.
So,
Josh.
so does this mean your next time will be
This
3 in a row?
might count as the third time. I'm in trouble.
You can't come back for a while.
I'll actually be here at the next meeting, so I'm definitely in trouble.
Lucky you.
Somebody has to shave their beard. You don't want to see me with, yeah. It'll look great. Mayor and council, what you have before you are some additional housekeeping items as we were looking at the development review process. We'll have additional housekeeping items that we haven't brought to you yet, but what we have are 2 items The first item, the city has what's called a major street plan. And what that does is it designates specific roads in Kaysville as having an intent with those roads serving larger volumes of traffic, collecting from areas, and rather than having a ton of traffic on smaller residential streets, identifying what streets are intended to be major accesses. So that's not just for volumes, but that is also for things like public safety. We utilize a lot of the streets that are in this major streets plan as what we focus on with snow plowing. The storm that we had this last time, what we'll typically do is we start, whenever we get called out, that could be 10 p.m., we'll have a small crew that's working on keeping these main roads open so that police and fire have access to the general areas of Kaysville. Another thing that it does is it specifies, any future development that comes in, a developer knows what the intent from the city is of the right-of-way needing to be. We have a developer that's currently looking at some property, and the city owns a parcel that would in the future become a roadway, and they were wondering if they could go with a narrower road. It was nice that we had this in place where we said no. A long time ago the decision was made that this road was going to be this width with the intended purpose to help collect and funnel a larger volume of traffic. What we've done, I don't think this has been updated in probably 20 plus years. Some things like SR 67, which is Legacy Parkway, the original intent was that was going to continue into the West Davis Corridor. West Davis Corridor is now its own route, SR 177. Clarifying that SR 273 is portions of Main Street and portions of 200 North, as well as switching, some roads that were a minor, or some roads that were local collectors to significant locals and vice versa, based on development that's happened over the last couple of decades. The Highway 89 project has added additional frontage roads that we wanted reflected in here. So that's the general meat of what you're seeing here, is making some updates, reclassification of what these streets are, and making sure that we have the right-of-way widths that we want. The other item is Title VI. That's a public safety title. We've had discussions recently about the fire department specifically, but it also applies to the police department as well as public works and power in terms of their ability to respond to emergencies, outages, water leaks, gas leaks, so private utilities as well. The fire code currently gives the fire chief the ability to either approve or reject applications for gates. And his approach has been to reject those, not out of spite, but out of concern for the city's ability to respond as quickly as possible. With the fire code already stating that and giving him that authority, as we talked internally, we felt like it would also be good to clarify that locally, that support the fire code and the fire chief in this is Kaysville's approach. It doesn't necessarily say that existing gates right now, they've got to go. But what it does do is it provides the ability for the police chief and the fire chief to conduct hazard assessments. If they find that, a gate that was put in back in the day is now a major problem and it's a risk, let's talk about it. Let's evaluate how do we eliminate or mitigate the risk. So that's the general meat of those two items. Obviously, this is a work item, so here to discuss with council and answer any questions.
Josh, I have a question as far as, and maybe this isn't even a part of it, but if the city deemed that a gate that had been already placed needed to come down, would we be responsible to repair it to what it was prior, or would that be up to the property owner to fix the property, restore the property,
That is a good question.
tear down the gate? I'm just kind of curious about that.
I think my first blush is obviously we want to work as partners with everybody as much as we can. So these items are privately owned and maintained.
Right.
And I think for the majority of how this is being applied, a lot of, changes to make them safe or fixing issues or even removal if needed to be the case
Would be on the property.
probably be also a private item, but.
I agree with Mr. Belknap. The city's always taken a collaborative approach to having individuals come into compliance. We've typically cooperated as a city with non-financial contributions, but we would certainly work collaboratively through that process.
Okay, thank you. Council, do we have any questions?
Just
Councilmember Adams.
I think there was a situation that we got emailed about. Was it having to do with this where somebody put up a gate that they didn't ask for approval, they just threw it up, right? That's not this, right? Like, that was already, the fire chief's thing was already in place before that gate was up, so that gate needs to come down.
Yeah, correct. So this would be kind of serving as a guide for future individuals wondering, what am I able to do as I look to engage with the city and seeing the limitation here of, I already clearly see what I can and can't do, so.
It's just sometimes our code references things like International Building Code, International Fire Code, and those are great resources and very technical resources. We felt like it would be appropriate to put it in here so that average Joe citizen, so to speak, sometimes you have to purchase the International Building Code to review it, the International Fire Code. We felt like this was a kind of a belt and suspenders approach, but would be help citizens be more transparent about what we're going to allow.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I'd entertain a motion to move this to an action item.
I'll make a motion that we move work item A, amendments to Titles 6 and 8 of the Kaysville City Code to an action item.
And I second that.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Nope. Okay, Councilmember Jackson.
Aye.
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 All right, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay.
That was to
on-
get Josh off the stage quickly. Right?
Right. Okay, we're on work item 7B, amendments to personnel appeal procedures. Gosh, I didn't read that well. Nick.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the City Council, it's good to be with you tonight. This is two amendments, one to our policy manual. That's the resolution. Interestingly, you have to change the city code by this is probably not interesting to anybody but me, but you change the city code by ordinance, you change the policy manuals by resolution. So that's why there's the two of them. This would be a change that would currently, as the city policy sits, if there's a grievance, City Council is the appeal authority for that. And if there is other kind of employee discipline, the City Council acts as an appeal board. We recently went through that process, as you're aware, and we got some training from, staff got some training from council, outside council that we've been using. And they suggested that we eliminate that process, and I outlined some of the reasons why, but council actually pointed out a really good point. He said that, the city manager often deals very closely with the city council, and one of the claims that aggrieved employees often raise is, this was kind of a kangaroo court. I never really got an appeal because Jason's real chummy with the mayor, and so of course the mayor and the city council just backed up whatever department heads and the city manager wanted to do. I think it also has some other real practical benefits. A hearing officer can hear these grievances and termination decisions, and it keeps those decisions really private and confidential, and certainly we would share that with council if the council wanted to know, but the council doesn't have to hear those details about employees. Doesn't put the council in an awkward spot of kind of choosing between employee concerns and management concerns. And then the hearing officer also has a lot more flexibility and ability to respond quickly to these grievances and termination decisions or disciplinary decisions. So those are some of the reasons why staff feels like this would be a good change. I'm open to answer any questions.
Well, and for those listening and for those here, just to explain the roles of mayor and council versus administration. So our responsibility is to, the city manager reports to us. And the departments report to the city manager, and the employees report to their departments, and that's kind of the chain of command. And so administratively, I mean, it would be inappropriate for me to say, hey, this person needs a raise or this person isn't doing their job, because that is not within our purview as a legislative body. And so I think it also helps to make that distinction more clear. And then there's no apparent bias or assumed bias either way. So, I think this is a good idea. Any comments? No? Okay. Seeing none, would someone like to? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm inclined to keep it the same, how we have it set up. I would feel more comfortable if we kept it the same, or if the mayor was involved in any situations that rose to the level of the council or the mayor. Because, when we went through this process previously, actually disagreed with the outside hearing officer that looked at the case. And I felt like we actually made the right decision as a council, just looking at everything. And so I'm inclined to keep it either how it is, or to retain the mayor involved in this sort of process. So.
Okay, Councilmember Oaks.
Interesting, because, as I was going through, I wholeheartedly agree, because I think I want someone who is more well-versed in what the intricacies are of HR policies and positions that we as a council aren't. We bring different backgrounds that I think lends probably some good experience, but so many of these matters really are black and white. And it's, is someone, did they do something, if they didn't, where's their appeal? Did they meet certain criteria? And it should never be a heartstring. It should be, here's what it says. And so I think you take out a legislative body. I just think you have someone who does this professionally, and you put down the cost. This is a rarity. You're talking maybe $1,500 a year. It's not an issue. I didn't think. That's my thought.
To your point, I think that the item that the council heard was the first one that we've had that's risen to the council level since I've been here.
Yeah.
Councilmember Blackham.
I'm really torn with this one, because there's, I hate being the machine. And, you go black and white by things, you become the machine. There's a lot more to the situation. There's a lot more to it when you have some history and you know what's going on. And I'm afraid this takes it away completely. And I see where you're getting from, because you say, well, maybe we shouldn't have that in there. But, it's the people that make this city. And there was a lot of people who felt like the decision that we did make was the right decision. And I'm afraid if this might have gone the other way, I don't know how it would have gone. I don't know. And so, boy, I'm always to the technical code writing, but on the other hand, there's also that, there's a lot more to it when you're talking about stuff like this, and I think there is sometimes you have to take that in consideration, and since it's happened only one time, in as long as I can remember, I hate to see us change it because of that one time or something.
Councilmember Adams.
At the same token, though, in these situations, yeah, maybe it comes out positive for one side, but then for another side, they may feel as though we've haven't shown trust to them, you know, or allowed them to manage their own department and do what they feel is best. Like, you know, we talk about wanting our department heads to do with their budget, like make do with the budget we give them. But maybe that means they need to have somebody that can do a little bit more things for the amount that the other person's being paid, but yet we're not allowing them to let somebody go that's not, you know, and I'm not bringing up the situation, but I'm just saying it puts us in a really bad position because there's no, I mean, there's a winner and a loser, and we're deciding that. I think this is way better handled outside of our jurisdiction. I think we're here to represent the people, not to represent, like, I don't know, the functioning of who the employees are. I just don't think, I'm not here enough to be able to know who's doing their job the right way.
Well, but sort of to your point, I mean, I don't have a problem making a decision, you lay out facts for me and I'll be able to go down one side or another. Whether it's right or not, I don't have a problem making a decision. On personnel situations, my concern is, are we qualified? Yeah. Are we qualified, and did a supervisor follow all the procedures, or did an employee follow all their responsibilities? There's some black and white in there that really, I think it's, I don't know. I don't feel qualified, but I'm happy to make a decision.
Councilmember Hunt.
I came into this thinking, this is a no-brainer. Of course, it makes sense to have it done by an outside entity. That's like the administrative authority would be someone that we contract with?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
We'd hire somebody that's not affiliated with the city or with city management or employees, and they would come in to hear these if and when they arose.
Okay, and so, coming in thinking, it's a no-brainer, I appreciate, Councilmember Blackman, Councilmember Jackson for bringing up that it could be better the other way, but I still just feel like having an outside entity keeps the council from being capricious. Like, it's not, kind of like Councilmember Oaks is saying, we're not professionals at dealing with this kind of event, and, we're swayed by normal human so like if someone comes in and is just a better arguer than someone else, we might say, oh, well, yeah, of course, that makes sense. If the facts are laid out like Councilmember Oaks is saying in not like a checklist or however it's done, I think they may tell the story better than just what we hear from both sides or whoever is presenting to us. So that's kind of what I was thinking on that.
Yeah, thank you for that. I was just going to mention, Councilmember Blackham, I appreciate you so much. We all do. You made one of the words you used, though, was heartstrings. And, it pulls at your heartstrings. And I think that is exactly why it's good to have a third party in a position to arbitrate or to, make decisions that deal with personnel issues that we are not legislatively really, that we should be making. Really. I think that it's an administrative type decision. I realize that people are at the core of everything that we do, and those relationships absolutely matter. But I don't think that they should be an emotional decision. And I think it should be a policy-driven, data-driven decision when it comes to personnel. So that's just my 2 bits there.
Can I just make one more plea to my council members? Just to remind everyone, as a group, we decided against what the hearing officer said at the business that we conducted a few months back. And so, to me, I think we absolutely are qualified because we can look at these situations from a neutral standpoint. And, we just had a budget meeting, and we're elected and qualified from the standpoint of our residents to oversee our budget. And I don't see how this is really much different. And the fact that it's only happened once, that you mentioned, Nick, and it's a rarity. And I want these things, these sort of issues, to be extremely rare. But I also don't like removing ourselves out of the picture, because I don't know what circumstances may come before us or before Jason or the city in the future. And if there was an instance where outside counsel agreed that certain action should be taken, and if that ends up, let's say a disgruntled employee ends up filing a lawsuit and suing the city for A, B, and C or whatever, I would definitely want to be aware of that before it gets to that point. And so I don't think we should remove ourselves. I think we're qualified and objective. I think we handled that very well. And if anything, I think we kind of touched upon some points in the city that hopefully help the city to function more smoothly and to have more protocol in place to help employees to do the best job they can. And so I support keeping it how it is. So.
All right, thank you so much. Any other comments? Would someone like to make a motion to move this to an action item?
I'll make a motion that we move amendments to personal appeal procedures to an action item.
A second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any comments? Okay, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Jackson, or were you first last time? Okay, Councilmember Oaks.
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Okay, motion carries. So this will be on the next agenda, I would assume. And we can continue to have discussions.
That's correct.
Yes, so thank you. Okay.
Mayor, can I?
Yes.
So, Nick, do we know how this is done in other cities, you know, on average?
Yeah, I looked at that. I believe Ogden City has a hearing officer similar to this. A number of cities have hearing officers. Layton City has this kind of unique program where they pull, when there's this appeal, they pull 2 employees from different departments, and they pull the mayor and like
Almost like an ad hoc committee.
Yeah, it's an ad hoc committee that they develop every time. But a number of cities are going to this administrative law judge type approach. And just kind of to answer the question, it keeps the city council from being subpoenaed for an employment lawsuit. And it also, the ALJ, the administrative law judge, will as part of the contract, will require that they write a real nice legal opinion, which provides us a lot of legal research and shortcuts that should litigation occur.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Council member reports. Does anyone have anything to report? Councilmember?
I have one small thing to report. We have a development review meeting that you go to, Mayor, and I go to, and I just want to comment that I feel like that is one of the most important meetings that I go to, and I want to just bring, lately, the assistant chief for the police department, Seth, has been coming, and I just want to say, to give that I feel like that is such a huge benefit, because you learn so much from those development meetings, and to have the police involved in not only he's starting to hear more, but, you know, it's kind of the trickle effect. I think that alone gets it to him. He talks in his department talks down. It's just another form of getting the word out in the city. And I just want to let the other council members know that having the police department there, and I think kind of Seth brought it on himself to do that, and I thought, what a great asset, you know.
Absolutely agree. Thank you. Anyone else? Councilmember Hunt.
I'm sure John has something about youth city council, but just real quick before he goes.
I didn't.
Communities That Care met again this week. Huge news. We have not fallen apart again yet, so this is good. And we're working on our vision statement, and it's exciting to see, you know, how people from our community, so many different volunteers from our community in Fruit Heights and Farmington are coming together to try to find out how and help us guide how we want to help support youth in mental health and in avoiding substance abuse and other risky behaviors. So it's cool to see the community come together, and kind of to piggyback on what Councilmember Blackham said, we have our police officers come fairly frequently, and they're so professional, and I love all of their input, and just wanted to kind of give them props for being awesome and involved, and we just have the best city ever.
I guess I should mention, yeah, we had the Utah League of Cities and Towns hosted the day at the legislature. Senator Adams was so kind to meet with them, let them hold the gavel, and he's awesome. He arranged us to have a tour of the house, and we're standing on the house floor as other people weren't allowed on, which is kind of cool. The Kaysville kids puffed their chests a little. And then the governor was nice enough to meet with us and speak with the youth, and so it was just an all-around great activity. And those youth city council, I mean, I think it's something they look forward to every year, and they do a lot, and so it's kind of like a nice treat to give to them something that's fun. So applaud them.
Thank you, and I just, for anyone listening, want to give a huge shout out to all of you who are serving in different capacities, because you're all on different committees and boards, and but especially for the Youth City Council. Councilmember Adams, to his credit, he last year and this year and actually every year gets us an audience with the governor, and we were the only youth council to be able to meet with him individually for the last couple of years. And so that's very exciting. And he also gets us a meeting with Senate, usually the House as well. So we appreciate all of that organization and coordination, because that's a big effort to get all the kids to the Capitol by 8 a.m., yes. I'm going to just really briefly give you an update on the homeless task force. So HB 499 is being amended. It's a mandate from the state that Davis County create a homeless shelter, a code blue shelter, and a winter shelter overflow in Davis County. So the task force made a recommendation, and we voted to approve a long-term proposal to the state to have a permanent shelter location built somewhere in Davis County. That location is undetermined yet. We're asking for $30 million in funding, as well as $2 million for ongoing funding. I don't know if we're going to get that or not. With that ask, we're saying, okay, because we're asking for this, don't make us do a temporary code blue shelter and put money to a temporary facility. Now, I don't know that the state will give us that exemption, but we're hoping that they do. If they don't give us that exemption, and if they don't give us this funding, then the plan right now, the only location that's been identified as a county-owned property that would be available is the Admission Center in Kaysville. And so the plan would be to make that a code blue / temporary winter shelter. Right now, the law is written so that only 2 years, like a city would only have to provide that for 2 years, and then it would rotate to a different city. However, the law as written expires in 2 years. So they're going to update that law, and it could become something permanent. We don't know. But I just wanted to let everyone know that's kind of where the task force is at. As far as the city goes, it is county-owned land, and so the county can decide to put it there. Councilmember Jackson.
Yeah, and Mayor, I just want to applaud your efforts on the homelessness task force. Is that how you call it, homelessness? You've really been pushing for a long-term permanent solution, and I applaud you for doing that, and all of us are grateful for that.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so that's the update there. Jason, do you have anything you'd like to share with us?
Sure, Mayor. Just really quick, Melinda and I met earlier this week with Jerry Goodspeed from the Utah State Botanical Center. I don't remember if we had this conversation before. I might have shared it in an email, but the Botanical Center, or Utah State, was looking at possibly changing that marquee sign that they have out by I-15 and putting in a digital sign, and that kind of went away for a while. And we were updated this week that Utah State's now going back to looking at putting up a digital sign, although they're going to likely keep the marquee sign as it is, and then put a second sign that would be a digital sign somewhere else on the property fronting I-15 there. Since they are the state, they don't have to go through our process. And it looks like this is now out of Jerry's hands, and it's kind of being driven by the university itself, and they may just kind of take the reins and go through this process. We don't know a timeline yet, but just thought it was important to let everyone know about that. Fortunately, it's a pretty lonely stretch of I-15, not a lot of neighbors nearby, as you know, so shouldn't be hopefully a really controversial issue, but just wanted to make sure that was publicly known.
Hey, Jason, any discussion from Utah State to work with UDOT to continue the sound barrier along that stretch?
Good question. I don't know about that. I don't know if anyone else has heard about that, but we can certainly look into it.
Okay.
Continuing this, how far up are you?
Well, I went down there with my wife. This was during the summer, and it was so nice, the path and the pond, but the I-15 is so noisy, and it's probably disruptive to the animals and to people that want to enjoy this space. And so I'm just curious if you heard anything. And
I've not heard. I have walked along I-15 on the botanical property there, and it is, it's like you're in nature, but you're not.
that would be nice.
Right.
If they do talk to the city, it would be nice to advocate for that so that our residents have a more peaceful experience there.
We could use some of that 30 million for the homeless. Because we just print money.
Right, yeah, someone does, right?
That's all.
Okay, thank you so much. Council, so at this point in the agenda, we would recess City Council and convene a meeting of the Kaysville Business Park Architectural Review Committee. But before we do that, does anyone need a 3-minute break?
Please.
Okay. Please mute your mics when you leave, because I think we have to keep rolling, right? Oh, because we're reconvening, or, okay. Recessing, we're recessing. Okay.
Thank you.
Just go like this.
Oh, okay. listen.
Before you
Oh.
start your meeting, though,
Okay,
push that thing.
okay, all right. Let's reconvene council if you're within hearing distance.
Hopefully, we're all within hearing
Yeah.
distance. What do you do, run away?
Well, unless he's in the bathroom. I don't know.
Oh,
Does it
yeah.
project into the bathroom? I don't think so,
Oh, I
but
don't know, probably not.
I don't know.
No one wants to hear us while they hit that.
Yeah. The restroom. Sorry, the restroom. Councilmember Blackham, if you can hear us, and would you like to make your way back to the council chamber? He's probably talking to someone.
He's talking to Jill. Mike! Oh, did he afterwards? Oh, okay.
Oh, maybe the mics were muted when I was.
Yeah, he probably went.
Okay. Okay.
We'll stop you.
We'll wait a minute. Oh, she is adorable. She gets spunky and chatty and opinionated.
Best Disney movie ever made, right there.
Is she? Oh, she's adorable.
Robin Hood, the cartoon.
So
We had 5 people watching online.
Love that movie.
The guy that sings all the songs, his name's Roger Miller.
Oh, did
And
you?
he sang a song, "You can't roller skate in the Buffalo Herd."
Sometimes we have a
Buffalo
lot of
Herd.
people that it's surprising.
Well, but this
He's
was-
one of
Oh, I
the-
love
This was
it.
not,
It's like the best.
Agenda items that we're gonna get many people.
Every time.
I mean, Lee watches all of them just because he's bored. And he's, hi Lee,
I'd watch college basketball.
give you a shout out. Okay, all right, okay, let's get serious. All right, welcome to the Kaysville Business, sorry, I can't even talk. Let me start over. I did. Okay, welcome to the Kaysville Business Park Architectural Review Committee meeting. The agenda is as follows. We're going to open. We want to welcome our board members to the meeting, and agenda item 2 is approval of a sign replacement at 780 North Kays Drive for Camping World. I'll turn the time over to Melinda for this.
Okay, I'm going to actually take this opportunity to say I want the 3-meeting rule as well, that I don't come to 3 meetings in a row. I think you want that. But you'll probably ask, so let me just get ahead of this. We have, as far as going back to last fall when we were talking about reaching out to the property owners in the business park and getting their opinions on things, we've gathered contact information, addresses, emails, and so I hope in the next couple of weeks we'll be able to send out that survey and get that feedback to you, at an upcoming February meeting perhaps, or March. So we're still working on that. So yeah, we have 2 sign applications here tonight. The development guide says that any sign approval has to come to the committee, which is why we're here. Neither applicant could be here this evening, but I have their contact information. If there's a question that I can't answer, we can get them on the phone and they can answer over the phone. So Camper World, we all know where that is. One of the most visible things from the business park, from the I-15. But they're looking at replacing the sign that they have. This is a rendering of the existing sign. The bottom part that shows gray is a digital sign that just doesn't function anymore. And so they're looking at just replacing that with this that would be a static sign, no digital messaging at all. This is actually a smaller sign than what exists. It's about 96 square feet smaller than what is currently there. And they would reuse the pole, so the location won't change, the pole won't change. They would just be installing the new sign. Interesting, but he did say that this, and of course I didn't bring my notes in, but he said that the material that they'll use on this sign is actually like a flexible material, more like a banner. So if there does happen to be some windstorm that would take that out, it's not a plastic piece that would break apart and cause damage. It would be more flexible. So I just thought that was interesting to note. It's a product made by 3M. So we have reviewed this to the regulations outlined in the Kaysville Business Park Development Guide, and it does meet those guidelines. So we are recommending approval. And again, if there's any questions I can't answer, we can get Vaughn on the phone to answer questions you may have.
Councilmember Jackson,
So the
or
sign-
board member.
The sign height, it's going to be the same height, correct? Same height, but the square footage of the sign is smaller.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going from 300 square feet to 204, I believe.
That's it.
So the height won't change. It'll still be at 45 feet.
Okay, all right.
That's easy.
Ready for a motion then?
Yeah. Yeah, I make a motion that we approve the sign.
I'll
Is that appro-
second.
Is that appropriate?
Yep.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any comments? No? Okay, right. Board member, Board member Blackham.
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you.
I'm tired.
All right, let's move on to item number three. Approval of signs at 498 North Kays Drive for AG Kaysville Building LLC.
All right. Again, the applicant wasn't able to be here tonight, but we can get them on the phone if there are questions. So this just shows where the property is located at. You'd all remember from our meetings last fall. This is the, let me get my mouse over there. It's kitty corner to the property where the aluminum shingle building was. So it's on Kays Drive. The building exists right now. They have 3 new tenants that they want to put signs up. This is the design of the signs. So these would be mounted to the building. And so we've got 3 signs: Next Branch, Financial Self-Service, Gold Counseling, which the way they've calculated this, it does, the square footage of the signage is limited to 40 feet. So I talked with them today about the conditional approval of approving this, but not having it be any more than 40 square feet. They were fine with that. Obviously want to meet our regulations. And then the last one is this Aspire Counseling, and that is under the 40 feet limitation there. So this is just where the signs would go on the building. And again, we have reviewed this internally with staff against the regulations and found them to be in compliance with the exception of that Gold Counseling one, which again, the recommendation would be that the committee approve that with the condition that it be reduced in size to be no more than 40 square feet.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Comments? No? Looking for a motion then.
I'll make a motion that we approve the sign request with the condition that it doesn't exceed 40 square feet.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any comments? No, okay. Board member Adams.
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you. Motion carries. All right, now we'll reconvene to City Council. We are now in our City Council meeting, and I would be looking for a motion to move to a closed session.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Okay, Councilmember Hunt.
Aye.
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 Okay. Are we moving to the conference room? Yes, okay.
He's got my chairs.
Yeah, I have been so.
My Coke. That I will take.
You might want